Siri, love it or hate it, there's no denying the fact that especially when compared with some of the latest AI-powered chatbots, it's not really what you'd call smart these days. But Apple claim that with iOS 17, Siri is smarter than ever, with new features and capabilities coming to your iPhone's voice assistant when the new operating system launches this September. But is it actually smarter? That's what I wanted to find out. So in this video, I'm going to be putting Siri through its paces on both iOS 16 and iOS 17 to see just how intelligent Siri is or isn't. Stick with me until the end of the video if you'd like to know just what Apple's voice assistant now has to offer. Okay, let's get into it. In the interest of fairness, let me quickly explain how I'll be testing. I've got two essentially identical iPhones, both iPhone 12 minis, both the base models with 64GB of storage, both Apple certified refurbs and purchased for this particular content. One is running the current most up-to-date operating system, which at the time of making this video is iOS 16.6, and throughout the video the background for that phone will be green, although I will label them. The other iPhone is running the developer beta of iOS 17, which is currently on beta 4. I fully acknowledge that there is always a slim possibility that by the time the software is released properly to the public, some of the things that we covered today might be slightly different, but in general, I think that this beta is a good representation of what will be coming in the next iOS update, which is only about a month away as I make this video. Again, everything on the beta will be in blue, but I will label them. Also, where I can, I'm going to test both operating systems side by side, except where this isn't practical to do so. We're also going to test things that Apple is claiming Siri is better at now and things that they've not mentioned, just to get more of an overall picture. So the first thing that Apple are claiming to be a major change to the way in which Siri operates is its ability to use a new shorter trigger phrase. Now throughout this video, I'm going to avoid using the Siri trigger phrase so as not to accidentally set off your voice assistant, but for this one part of the video, I can't really escape it, so bear with me. Previously, you'd have to say "Hey Siri" for your voice assistant to work. Now you just have to say "Siri," and Apple claim that it's smart enough to identify when you're asking it something versus when you're simply mentioning its name. So let's test that. "Hey Siri, set a 5-second timer." "Siri, set a 5-second timer." You can see that exactly as expected, in iOS 17 my phone identified that I was speaking to it with both trigger phrases, whereas in iOS 16 the shorter trigger phrase didn't work. Just so you know, to enable this you'll need iOS 17 running, and then you'd head into Settings, then Siri and Search, and in the Listen For section ensure that both are enabled. When I first learned that Apple would be dropping the "hey" from the trigger phrase, my concern was that Siri would be triggering all the time, but Apple were confident that this wouldn't be the case, and that Siri would be able to tell the difference between a command and when you were simply mentioning its name in a sentence. So let's test that. "Siri, set a 5-minute timer." This video is all about Siri. This is a video about Siri and whether it's smarter now than it was in iOS 16. To Apple's credit, it certainly does appear to know the difference between when you're talking to it versus when you're talking about it. In fact, anecdotally, I've actually found that false triggers happen much less in iOS 17 than they did in iOS 16. Always a good test of general intelligence, the old meaning of life question, so let's ask Siri. Who are you? What can you do? You can see that we get essentially identical answers for both devices, so no real winner here. So another new feature in the latest OS is the ability to choose how you'd like to send a message. You could kind of do this previously. You'd have to say "send so-and-so a message" via WhatsApp, for example, but it was irritating if you forgot, as your iPhone would always default to iMessage. So let's give it a try. "Send Tom PHT a message." You can see that on iOS 16 a message window appears as the phone assumes that I want to use iMessage. On iOS 17 though, I've got this little box that I can tap to choose between my available messaging apps, which on this phone is both iMessage and WhatsApp. So yep, another example of Siri getting smarter. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF version of this video, complete with screenshots, and you can access it along with all other PDFs I've created, plus future ones, for just $5 a month. You can either scan the QR code that you can see on screen, or follow the link in the description of this video to learn more. Another feature that Apple has talked about is the ability for Siri to be able to respond to and deal with back-to-back requests. An important thing to point out here, in my testing, I thought this would mean that you could say multiple things in one sentence, like set a reminder for 3 p.m. today and send a message. It doesn't work like that. Rather, you have to say one thing, let Siri do it, then immediately say another. Let me show you. What's £86.34 plus £15.54? Divided by 3. Times that by 2. Remind me about paying off my credit card bill today at 3. Open Uber. So you can clearly see that in iOS 16, Siri stopped paying attention after the first request, while in iOS 17 it kept on listening, allowing us to make more requests, including using the results of a previous request in a new one. So that's pretty impressive. Another new feature for Siri in iOS 17 is its ability to read articles. For this to work, the article will need to be reader compatible. In other words, if you can't tap on the reader button in the lower left corner of Safari and view the article in reader mode, this won't work. But I've got an article that fits the bill, so let's test it out. Read this.
One from screen recording. Screen recording. Screen recording video saved to photos.
In iOS 16, the phone begins reading out notifications, so absolutely not what we want.
The Mac Studio remains the top choice for professionals who need a powerful but compact desktop computer.
In iOS 17, the phone begins reading out the article, so exactly what we want. This is a function that I've included in previous Siri videos, so it's not a new feature as such, but it's a feature that seemed to be there for ages and then disappeared all of a sudden. In the past, you could open a web page or an email and say, remind me about this, and Siri would create a reminder for you, complete with a link to whatever this is. Super handy, and I wanted to test to see if it was now working in iOS 17. So first with a web page. Remind me about this in 30 minutes. You can see that on iOS 16 it's a fail, but on iOS 17 it works. Next, with an email. Remind me about this in 30 minutes. Again, exactly the same result. No joy on iOS 16, but works perfectly on iOS 17. A feature that I've wanted on Siri for years now is the ability to set multiple timers and to name them, which is so useful when you're cooking, and it's frankly amazing that you've not been able to do this. So let's try it. Set a 5-minute burger timer. Set an 8-minute French fry timer. You can see that on iOS 16, the first timer is set, and trying to set a follow-up timer would mean cancelling the original one. You can also see that you can't name the timers. On iOS 17, though, both timers are set, both are named, so another positive result for iOS 17. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, why not consider signing up to my newsletter, The Proper Weekly, which you can do via the link in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on screen now. The newsletter goes out each Friday, and I include some tech news from the week, a behind the scenes of what's happening here on the channel, as well as a tip for an item in the Apple ecosystem. One of the basics that I truly believe Siri ought to be able to do is to access every part of the settings menu. It can't in its current state at least, so let's see if this changes in iOS 17. Open Accessibility. Open Wallpaper. Open Hearing Devices. Enable VoiceOver. Enable Reduce White Point. disable reduce white point. So you can see that in the tests carried out here, there's only really one improvement in iOS 17, which is the iPhone's ability to open accessibility in general. Other than that, I'm not seeing major improvements here, which is a shame. Let's try a couple of weather-related questions. What's the weather going to be like today? Will I need an umbrella this week? So again, no major changes here. Let's see if Siri handles the process of getting directions from one location to another any better or even any differently. Get me directions from the Metro Centre to Tesco Extra in Hartlepool. And as you can see, pretty much identical results. Something I've always wanted Siri to be able to do, something you can absolutely do in ChatGPT that I really believe a digital assistant should be able to do, is use a request to figure out the time in different time zones. So let's say the following. At 11 AM my time today, what will the time be in Tokyo? And as you can see, Siri really does not understand the context of the question at all, here on the current version or in the new version. Let's see if translation has improved at all. How do you say, is there a hotel near here in Hindi? How do you say, is there a hotel near here in Dutch? So no translation in Hindi and no real changes to the way that this works in Dutch. It would appear that translation is working pretty much the same on both operating systems. A new feature in iOS 17 is the ability to identify and name your pet, which I've done for our dog Mitzi. So in theory, you would think that you'd now be able to ask Siri to show you pictures of your pet in iOS 17 just like you can people. So let's test that theory out. Show me photos of Mitzi. Show me my photos of Mitzi. Show me photos that contain Mitzi the dog. So a surprising one, this didn't work on any level, and I genuinely thought it would. Perhaps this will come in a later version. If you're able to get this one working, drop me a comment and let me know. For this test, I wanted Siri to check the identical email inboxes on both phones to look for emails containing a specific word. Find me emails that mention the word widget. You can see that in this instance, iOS 17 did indeed come back with some usable results, where iOS 16 failed. And for the sake of not making this video unnecessarily long, I did try some other tests, all of which came back with generally the same experience on both operating systems. Take a screenshot and send it to Tom PhD. How many days until Christmas? Suggest places to go for coffee in Canary Wharf. Explain a leap year to me. So, after all that testing, what's the conclusion? Is Siri looking smarter on iOS 17 than on iOS 16? Honestly, the answer I feel I'd have to give is not really. It's better, definitely, with some genuine quality of life improvements this time around versus previous versions. But in terms of intelligence, there's very little here that makes me think that you're going to be having a noticeably better time with Siri in iOS 17 than you have been recently. It's still frustrating, it still struggles with things that it absolutely shouldn't struggle with, and it's still by far the least impressive of all the smart assistants, especially when you compare it with things like ChatGPT and Bard. What do you think? How do you feel about Siri in its current form? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.